Hello and welcome. Now, whilst everyone is talking about the incredibly exciting news about Universal Great Britain, today I decided to talk about what's been spotted near the former dungeons at Alton Towers in 2025, as changes may be happening. So just before the start of the 2025 official season on a buyout day on the 9th of March, these are when a company can pay to have exclusive access to a park for selected guests, spray paint markings were spotted as you approach the queue line and entrance. These again being spotted by more members of the public once the park opened fully in mid-March. It's not known when these markings first appeared, however, and these were reported online by a number of different sources, and I got to go and have a look at them myself when I visited the park on the 28th. So on the sort of 9th of March and mid-March, there was some classic purple towers metal railing blocking anyone from walking further up to the old dungeon's entrance, but you could still see everything beyond that, including the Amigos in the Afterlife exterior theming, which amazingly they never got round to taking down over the closed season. So this does make me wonder why, and if there were any further reasons beyond just time or staffing constraints. But surely it doesn't take a lot of effort to take a little bit of sort of theming boards down, unless other changes are imminent, so perhaps they decided not to bother. Now, the floor markings, so these were spotted in both white and red spray paint, and between photos and footage from the 9th and 16th and my own photos from the 28th, I can't tell if these have been changed or added to in any way, but I really don't think that they have been. I'm going to try and describe them, so bear with me. So there were two red marks, both consisting of two lines with either a C or an O in the middle. One was positioned to the far right as you're facing the dungeons, where you used to enter the queue for the dark rides here, and the other was over to the left, just slightly away from the wall. There were also a number of different white marks scattered about. One is just past the fencing and therefore out of reach, but from what I can tell it was two small crosses parallel with dots next to them. The other markings consisted of two arrows on opposite sides of the pathway leading up to the entrance area. I'm not really sure why they're pointing in certain directions, but then you had a dot cross dot mark on the right hand side, and as you approach the entrance area there's a drain that reaches all the way across the path, and on this there was a cross or a dot cross dot mark on the far left of the drain and again on the far right. And further back from the rest of the markings, on that kind of plaza area, there was another dot cross dot and a dot cross dot with a line. I hope that made sense and that you sort of followed it somehow. It's really confusing trying to explain, especially when you don't really know what they refer to specifically. But interestingly, when I visited on the 28th, they had upgraded from the purple railings and had put up a tall, sort of plain wooden fence. This certainly didn't look like fencing that's only going to be up for a couple of weeks or something. It looked like fencing that's going to be there for some time. That being said, the exterior dungeons and old Scarefest theming is still perfectly visible when you're sort of slightly further up, further away. So it doesn't really block or hide anything unless you go right up to it. As well as the Amigos exterior theming still being up, we also still have the old dungeons hanging sign on that little plaza area that used to stand outside, with nothing on the sign at the moment. Now, when I visited on the 28th, I spotted further Scarefest theming that had been left as well, this time a bit more tucked away as it's just to the right of Burger Kitchen. Here they have the purple shed structure for either the entrance or exit of Trick or Treat Town, and if my memory serves me correctly, they use the lift building from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is on the left side of the Dungeons building. Some of the Halloween shapes were still up, the Haribo Trick or Treat banners were still there, and a small kind of entrance or exit doorway was inside this shed. In here they've also stored the Amigos in the Afterlife sign, which shape and size-wise perfectly fits the old hanging sign from outside the dungeons, so they did manage to remove one piece of theming at least. Something else that I also noticed when I looked at the trick-or-treat theming, which to be fair it is quite tucked away and you can kind of understand if they've left it to its own devices. Just above that there's a bit of like black painted facade, and if you look closely you can see some sort of old lines and marks And when I checked some old photos from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you can actually see the old markings from some of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory exterior theming coming through. Whether the paint's worn away or whether it's just something that's always been there but no one's really spotted it, I'm not sure. And I didn't spot it myself until I looked at the photos a couple of days later when I came back. So that's pretty interesting that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is still there a little bit. So the spray paint markings have clearly got some kind of meaning, because they're not all just random squiggles. There's specific different types of marks in different orders. Now, if only we knew what the secret code was. It was also noted by others that bushes near the dungeons had been cut back. Now, one reason for all of the recent activity could be that we may finally be seeing the beginning of activity for the Project Horizon development, as this is to be situated behind and adjacent to the former dungeons building, with the area in front of the dungeons, including the plaza where the hanging sign is, being the beginning of the entrance or walkway down to the indoor coaster's location, which is located in the former coaster corner, which is currently sort of a back of house service yard. After all, planning permission had been granted for this development, so if it is going ahead, they wouldn't necessarily need to wait for all of that stuff, unless further revisions to the plans were perhaps being made. It is a bit sad though, when you look online at the initial announcements for Project Horizon, it states the new coaster was expected to open in mid-March 2025, but never mind. There has also been speculation that the planned indoor coaster was instead switched to another UK Merlin park, possibly Chessington, but I'd like to think all of the planning for the Towers project would not have been wasted, so I really hope it is still happening at some point. Spray paint markers are commonly used to map out where new developments will go, but as much as we would all love Project Horizon to be coming to fruition, it could be something a lot more boring, as it has been suggested online that these markers could just be for utilities. The fact that they are on and around that long drain kind of adds to that theory. Towers did have planning permission granted in June 2024 for solar panels to be added to the dungeon's roof. I couldn't find out if this has actually been done yet, but I highly doubt the markings are to do with adding those, as surely they would access the building from the other side, which would be easier as it's not front facing. Potentially, the Trick or Treat Town and Amigos in the Afterlife theming has been left up because they're both returning for this year's Scarefest maybe. But they haven't done a good job at hiding them. And really, it's just some boarding and things like that. It's quite easy to take down and put up. It's not like it's a whole building. I'm talking more about the Amigos exterior theming. But it's really not that difficult to take down and put back up, surely. So I'd be surprised if it's coming back and they've just left it, because they could have just taken it down or put some kind of cover or boarding in front of it for now. But it does make you also wonder what will happen to the Dungeons building going forward. Could the markings be related to developing inside the former Dark Crowd building itself? Maybe plans for that haven't been released to the public yet, but they're getting started anyway. And perhaps the whole area could be changing. We'll just have to wait and see, but knowing my luck, I've looked into this and it'll just be something like utilities, but nonetheless it is exciting to speculate and see what the powers that be have got planned. Despite the struggles Merlin are having, I think it's good to stay positive, and with Universal Great Britain recently being announced, maybe we will start to see more development coming to the park after all. Definitely watch this space on that one. So thank you for watching/listening, and I'll see you next time.